Okay, so we've got this article that's got everyone buzzing about, fall flavors. It seems like a classic might be losing its edge.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we're talking apple pie spice versus pumpkin spice, and honestly, I'm here for the debate.
You know, it's funny you should frame it as a debate. This article actually does too. They set it up like it's a spice agency, and these blends are all competing to be the fall season spokesperson.
I love that. So creative. It's like pumpkin spice is this big shot celebrity, right? On apple pie spice is coming in like the underdog, ready to shake things up.
Yeah, and they make some good points, highlighting how versatile apple pie spice is. You can use it year round. It's not just a one holiday wonder.
Right. Okay, but what really got me was when they mentioned cardamom. Like, they're really
Yeah.
changing the game with that one.
Right. It's interesting because swapping cloves for cardamom, it's subtle, but it adds this like a depth of flavor that cloves just don't have.
And the article even suggests using it with seafood. Seafood? Can you imagine pumpkin spice shrimp? I don't think so.
Exactly. It's like this whole other world of flavor opens up. And honestly, this is what I found so interesting about the whole thing. It like a tiny example of this huge shift we're seeing in like how people eat and think about food.
So it's not just about pumpkin spice fatigue then. There's more to it.
Yeah, totally. People are getting kind of like bored with these one-dimensional flavors. They want more complex, more interesting tastes. And they're also, more aware of their health.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, everyone loves a good pumpkin spice latte, but when it's in everything from, like, cereal to air fresheners, it's a bit much.
Yeah. Totally. And I think people are realizing that. This article talks about how apple pie spice is actually being marketed as like this healthier option.
Mm.
Makes sense. Lower sugar, natural ingredients, all that.
So we're seeing this shift from just wanting a quick flavor hit to
Mhm.
actually thinking about what we consume and how it affects us. It's fascinating.
Right. It's like people are demanding more from their food. They want flavor, but they also want it to be good for them and ethically sourced and, the whole package.
That's a really good point. It's like this whole movement toward conscious consumption, and it's impacting everything.
Yeah, and this article, it just like highlights that in this really interesting way. This little spice rivalry, it's actually a window into this much bigger change happening in how we as a society are engaging with food and flavor.
It's funny, when I was reading that part about apple pie spice, I actually, like, got this rush of memories,
Mhm.
like my grandma's kitchen at Thanksgiving, that warm, spicy smell.
Oh, absolutely. Smell is so powerful, the way it can just like transport you back to a specific time and place.
Right. And I think that's part of what makes apple pie spice so appealing. It's familiar, it's comforting, and it's not, like, aggressively seasonal. You don't just smell it and think fall?
Totally. And that actually ties into a bigger point the article made about how consumers today, they're looking for more freedom in their food choices. They don't want to be told what to eat and when.
It's like with the pumpkin spice stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love a pumpkin spice latte in the fall, but when I see it on shelves in August, it's like,
Yeah.
hold on, summer's not even over yet.
Exactly. It's overkill. And I think that's what leads to this like flavor fatigue. When something's everywhere, it loses its specialness.
So it's not even that people necessarily dislike pumpkin spice anymore. It's just like they want to miss it a little.
Yeah.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that.
Totally. And I think there's also this growing desire for authenticity. Like
Wow.
people care about where their food comes from, how it's produced. They want a story behind it.
Right. It's like that whole farm to table thing, but with spices. People want to know their choices are supporting sustainable practices, ethical sourcing, all that.
Exactly. It's about more than just the taste. Consumers today, they're informed. They want transparency. They want to know their choices align with their values.
This is so interesting. We've gone from apple pie spice versus pumpkin spice
Hmm.
to, like, this whole discussion about conscious consumption and the future of food. It's amazing. It really makes you wonder, you know, what else is out there? If apple pie spice is making a comeback, what other flavors are due for a resurgence?
Well, if we're following the thread of this article, it seems like the future of flavor is like global, more adventurous. We see this renewed interest in ancient grains, different cultures' cuisines.
Which makes sense, right? Like, your palate expands, you want more interesting spices to go with it.
Exactly. So think of like cardamom, we talked about that, but also coriander, cumin, turmeric. They all bring that complexity, that depth of flavor that people are craving.
Like culinary wanderlust or something.
I love that. Yeah, you travel the world through your taste buds. And the best part is, as we become more aware of where our food comes from, these spices, they often have these great stories behind them. Sustainably sourced, ethically grown,
So it's like you're not just enjoying the flavor, you're supporting a whole system.
Exactly. Consumers are getting savvy. They want transparency. They want to know their choices are making a difference.
This has been such a cool conversation.
Mm.
Who knew we'd go from apple pie spice to, like, the entire future of food?
Right. It just shows you how these like little trends, they can actually reveal these big shifts happening in how we think about what we eat.
Totally. So for our listeners who are now inspired to, spice up their lives a little, where do they start?
Honestly, be curious.
Mm.
Try new things, explore different cuisines. Don't be afraid to experiment in the kitchen a little.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't just stick to the same old spices. Branch out, see what you discover.
Exactly. You never know what hidden gem you might find. That's what's so exciting about food. There's always something new to explore.
Absolutely. Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to your culinary adventures. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.